Welcome back to the Block Touch Repair YouTube channel. Today we're going to be working on this, I believe, 1926 or sometime around that time period, Victrola Talking Machine record player. This thing is very rough, probably one of the rougher ones I've ever seen. Well, this is probably the only one I've ever seen, but looking at photos online, this is a very, very rough one. As you can see, it is very far gone. But today we're going to try and get this thing back to its former glory. As you can see on the top here, all the veneer has been ripped off. That really sucks. We're going to have to replace all of that. On the back here, we got some veneer peeling all around. Not sure what I'm going to do about this edge. We might be able to save that. We might have to replace some veneer there. This thing is in really rough condition. The lid's actually cracked and broken all the way here, so you got to be very careful when you open it. But as you can see, inside here, it also really sucks and needs a lot of work. The pot metal one of these has completely shattered over the years, so I got a reproduction one. This thing was $90 and it was painted like shit, so we might have to strip this down and just powder coat it. That was ridiculous how badly that's painted. Man, I love pot metal. I tried prying up on it and it just broke off more. How do I separate this? What I can tell is the pot metal has swelled, making it incredibly difficult to get off. So basically, we're shattering it off. I had to absolutely caveman style to get that off, just had to smash with a screwdriver and a hammer. But I got it out without damaging anything, which is good. So now we have this thing, that thing, and our new one. Which, I think it's time we clean this thing up and polish it. This thing is brass, and I think it'll clean up really nice and look really nice polished. I just realized I keep saying it's brass, but maybe it's copper. I don't fucking know. Well, go fuck yourself, Victrola. These aren't brass or copper. They're fucking coated steel. Well, I guess we're gonna have to re-electroplate these. This is gonna get sandblasted and powder-coated black, so it's not shitty flaking black paint. We're also probably gonna do these little lift things here, which means it's time to remove this door because we also need to glue that back on and get all this reattached. But we gotta be careful because this is the one spot on this machine I really can't refinish. This is a ridiculous amount of screws for a damn hinge. I got this glued back on here. I had to use some wood glue, but I had to fix this veneer layer here first because it was getting peeled up when this got shoved back on. Hello, cat. And I had to use this super expensive. It's actually not too bad, but it's not cheap either. Some super soft to make it soft, and then some heat lock glue to glue that veneer back on underneath there, and then we can slide this thing on and glue it on. So that's nicely repaired now. Got these parts sandblasted. Genuinely expected this to be painted better for a $90 fucking part, but sure, they just had some cheap like enamel paint on that. So got all that sandblasted. We got all those powder coated. Got these things. These things were for some reason brass. I don't know. They're spray painted black or painted black, so I guess we'll powder coat them black, but they look kind of good. Maybe I'll just polish those up and they'd look really cool. I don't really know if I want to go that route or want to go original. We're also going to have to take care of all this mold you've probably noticed, but honestly, it should be pretty easy to take care of, so I'm not too concerned about that. Today it's finally time to actually throw some powder on these parts and get them in the oven and actually get them all powder coated. So I got an air compressor set up, powder coating set up. Let's throw some powder on these parts, get them baking. Now we let those bake for a few minutes. The best way that I found to do bolts is just like this, in a can, and then you can just attach the ground of the powder coating thing to the tab here, and you can just powder coat these and just put it in the oven like this, and you'll end up with nicely powder coated ends of a screw. You don't really need the rest of the screw powder coated, that'll kind of mess with the threads. You really just need the head to look nice. The rest is not really shown, and if you powder coated it would probably not thread in properly. There we go. That looks fucking amazing. Man, the fact that they couldn't do this for a $90 part kind of pisses me off. It honestly would have been probably faster for them to do this than paint it. Because you gotta wait for it to dry this. You could just throw it on and put it in the oven and it's done in 10 minutes. Like, come on. Why would you paint it with such shitty paint when you could, like, actually powder coat it? It's not that expensive to do and looks so much better and will last so much longer. Well, I think it's time we try sanding this veneer to see if I'm gonna have to replace it. I think, honestly, I should be able to just refinish it, but you can't really tell until we start sanding. So, let's go start sanding. So, a little bit of still staining right there, I see. I'm gonna have to continue sanding that out a little bit. Hopefully, I can get rid of most of the staining. Honestly, it's never gonna be perfect. I'm not aiming for perfect. I'm aiming for good. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Most of the staining was able to be sanded out, so I think we'll be able to save a good bit of this veneer. That's awesome news. Now, wiping it down with a moist towel will tell you a little bit more of what it's going to look like once you polyurethane it or whatever kind of finish people recommend for these. I'll have to do some research on that. I'm sure everyone says different, but as you can see, that's looking pretty damn good. Fortunately, though, you can still see there is somewhat of a staining in this veneer. Honestly, it's all the way through the veneer probably, so no sanding is going to get that out. I'd probably have to replace all the veneer to get rid of it, and at some point, it's no longer original if you're just replacing everything, so I'll probably have to live with that. It's not too big of a deal and gives the cabinet some character. Now, these cylinders are probably going to have to be rebuilt. They both have cracks in them, so I'm not sure if that's going to be a problem or not. I don't know if these are air-based. If they are, that's probably not good. It's reassembled enough just to test it, and damn, does that shiny black look good. We're definitely going to have to redo these. I could polish them silver, but that wouldn't look right, so we're going to have to get the chemicals I need to plate these the proper copper color. I just realized we're missing one of our weights on this little spinny thing here, so that's going to suck. What's the chances I can get a new one of those? That's gonna be fun to find. I feel like it wouldn't be fair if I didn't at least show you how this thing sounds, so I put it back together enough to actually play it. Now, I got a record that I don't think anyone can complain about me damaging. I got a new needle in the thing, to be fair, but this thing is definitely not gonna play at the correct speed for multiple reasons, but we can at least hear how it sounds. I do have to crank it up, not quite the correct way, because I don't actually have a hand crank for this, so I'll have to, I guess, buy one, or make one, I guess, but, this works, kind of. I have to limit the speed manually, but considering how beat up everything is here, the fact that we're getting anything out of this at all is pretty impressive. Considering this thing is almost 100 years old, that's amazing. One thing on this cabinet that we cannot save is the veneer on top, or what's left of it. So I think we'll be able to get it off with a chisel. If not, we'll have to try something else, but let's give it a try. Well, why, this has worked incredibly well. This stupid lid keeps moving on me when I'm doing this one-handed, but it has worked pretty damn well to get the rest of this stupid veneer off. I'm giving this a light sanding at 100 grit. I don't think I should go much smoother than that, as I'm pretty sure the veneer glue probably has to stick to something, so I don't want to make it too smooth. I think 100 grit probably will be good enough, though, so I guess we'll get this thing ready for actually gluing on the veneer. I gotta go Google some stuff. Otherwise, I should probably sand all of the edges that are going to get refinished before I put the veneer on, because I don't want to damage the veneer sanding these edges later. So why don't we do that before I put that on to avoid that situation all entirely? Got this covered in the fancy heat lock glue I bought for this stuff. Looks pretty good. Here's the veneer I got. I maybe should have gotten a slightly darker wood. I'm not sure. I was mainly focusing on the wood grain, because I can stain it darker. I can't stain a new wood grain on it, though. But I think I got a pretty good match. And now we simply iron this wood on. That's an interesting thing to say. And there we go. Now, it was a bit of a learning curve. As you can see, this rear part did not go on very well. Apparently, you really gotta let that heat lock glue fully dry before you actually iron it on, or you screw stuff up. I should have paid attention to the instructions a little bit better. This front part turned out really good, though. We might have to redo that back part. Honestly, I think with a light sanding, we can save that. If not, I can redo it. That's not a big deal, but that looks a hell of a lot better than just the wrong kind of boards being on there. Definitely gonna have to stain it a bit darker to match the rest of the cabinet, but that also should not be a big deal. But if you like what you saw and you want to see this thing actually get complete, please leave a like and subscribe. See you next time. We got a long way to go.